All right. Hey, this is Taylor Kerrigan, the Director of Sales at the Glover Agency, and I have Ryan McAulay joining us today. Ryan is a new associate at the Glover Agency, and we're just going to spend the next 10, 15 minutes or so talking a little bit about Ryan, his business, and ultimately, who you are now that you're aligned with the Glover Agency and part of the reasons why you joined us. So, hi, Ryan. How are you today?
Hey Taylor, I'm great. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Okay, so you have been in the business now for how many years?
Going on 6 years. I got licensed in 2017, but the first year I was pretty much part-time, so full-time since 2018.
All right, awesome. And best year ever, how many homes did you sell?
My best year was 2021. I closed 46 units and just over 10 million volume, about 10.8 million in volume.
Awesome. And if you had to say, Ryan, majority of your business has come from what types of lead sources? I know that you have a great sphere. We were talking about that yesterday while you were trick-or-treating. Talk a little bit about your favorite sources of business.
Definitely. So, besides Sphere, obviously, family, friends, past clients, I am very referral based, but besides my Sphere, I would say, Zillow's been a good lead source for me. I've worked Zillow leads, both, ones that I've paid for on my own and also ones that were provided, from teams and things like that. But yeah, internet lead sources, social media has been great, Facebook, Instagram, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that I've always respected about you, Ryan, is you've been pretty consistent, right? I've watched your business for a while. And you've always done well with your sphere and staying in front of them. And so for someone who's as successful as you are, obviously being on a team, moving teams, it's not easy. You have a family of how many kids?
I have 4 kids.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, I almost said five. I almost gave you an extra kid. So you've got four kids that, making a move is not something that's easy. And so when you decided that it might be time to be affiliated with the Glover Agency, what were some things that attracted you to our organization?
So I've always been attracted to, the way you guys do things, here at the Glover Agency. I've followed the training content, the YouTube channel, I've attended different seminars and webinars and the coaching, I did the prospecting boot camp with Justin Ford, but I've just always thought, that'd be really cool to be over there at the Glover Agency. And when it was time to make a move, I messaged you directly on Facebook, like, hey Taylor, I'm ready to live my own real life. Let's talk. And
Yeah.
I had a few other options I was considering, and I was in the process of interviewing for a team leader role, but I wasn't sure if that was the direction I wanted to go because that would have taken me out of production and been more heavily focused on recruiting. So I'm glad I reached out to you, and yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we always say we couldn't succeed with Glover U and training across the country unless we succeeded with training in our backyard first, right? And I really do believe a lot of organizations out there kind of do a disservice to
Mhm.
agents and not making sure that they're well trained. And, people will always ask me, why is Glover Agency different? I truthfully, in my heart, believe we have the absolute best trained salespeople, and we will do everything we can to make sure, even today we were doing objection handling, right? Handling seller objections. Those are things that we've probably heard, dozens of times over the last couple of years, but we still train it every single day because we want to make sure we're a master of our craft, right? It's a disservice to our clients and to yourself if you're not trained well on sales.
Correct. I totally agree with that.
So talk a little bit about the culture at Glover Agency. I know that that's one of the things that you were attracted to within our organization. What really stood out to you?
So the culture, as far as the culture, that's something that's, there's a few things, 4 or 5 things that are really important to me in any team or brokerage, and culture is always one of them.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's part of Keller Williams, so Keller Williams has its own
Yep.
culture, of course, but also the Glover Agency, just the opportunity, to grow your business, whether you want to be just an agent in production, or you want to get into a leadership role on the ALC or Glover U coach, or, Live Unreal as a family of companies. So there's opportunities to grow within. You guys really take care of your people with the different awards and recognitions that you do. I mean, the very first meeting I was at in September, I was like, wow, this is an awesome meeting. It's different than what I'm used to. So also, me being a military veteran, I was in the Army after 9/11. Glover's Heroes is something that I think is awesome, taking care of police, firefighters,
Yeah.
military, nurses, teachers, those kinds of things. I actually have a closing tomorrow with a couple that's buying a house in Royal Oak, and the wife is a nurse and she's taking advantage of the Glover's Heroes program. So that's awesome too, giving back to the community. And other things like the rev share model is different here, at Glover. Health insurance being an option, that's something that most places don't even have as an option.
Yeah.
Just things like that. The agent production, the highest agent production in the state, per agent. I believe the Glover agency agents outsell the average agent 7-1.
Mhm.
And 70% of the Glover agency agents are making six figures or more, if that
Yeah.
have been with us for more than a year. Think in the average transactions is 30 plus. So not too many teams and brokerages can quote those types of numbers. So
Well, we talk a lot about, and personally myself as, with myself and the rest of the leadership team, we want to focus on who you become when you're aligned with us. Selling a certain amount of homes is one thing, making a certain income is one thing. But where I honestly get the most enjoyment is watching where someone was when they started with us and
mm,
watching how they've grown over the, year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. There's
right,
agents on our team that, they joined us before they even had a family. And now they have 4, 5, 6 kids. And I'm watching them live their own real life and being able to get more time back and do everything that they do and still make the income that they want to make. But because of the culture and because of the, organization, and yourself included, it's part of the reason why you joined.
mhm,
They're able to now live their own real life
right,
because of the affiliation and the culture. So I
yeah,
appreciate you sharing that with me. And, ultimately our job is to put more money in your pocket and give you more time back. And
right,
so as long as we accomplish those things, I think that's a win. So
yep,
let's talk a little bit about the accountability, right?
mhm,
So I told you this when you and I first met. You'll probably remember the saying,
mhm,
agents get into the business for freedom and flexibility, and it's also the number one reason why they fail. So when I
right.
asked you the question, okay, Ryan, why did you join the Glover agency? One of your answers was accountability. So people will probably be surprised that you actually joined for that reason. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. And just it also touches on culture too. Just so you know, before I reached out to you on Facebook, I actually had watched a video of you on stage at the Live Unreal retreat, and you were talking about, how proud you were of some of the Glover Agents productions and getting a little teary-eyed, and just even little things like meetings we've had where you're like, I love you guys. Like, never been in a team or brokerage where people say, hey, I love you, not in like a romantic
A
sense, but
creepy
hey,
way,
I love you guys.
right? Not
Well,
creepy.
right, we're all family. Like, it shows that you actually care and it's sincere. And even Jeff, like, as busy as he is, he's on those accountability calls every morning at 7:30. He sends out those daily messages. I was already getting the daily text messages before they had the app, before I joined Glover. But things like that. But accountability, I do crave it. Some people shy away from it. I do crave accountability. And there's a quote that accountability is the sincerest form of love. It's that tough love that some people need to be pushed, because left to their own devices, any agent is going to slack off from time to time. And you guys care about your agents hitting their goals. You do one-on-ones, you talk about goals and strategies, how to reach those goals, and then holding us accountable to do those, with the 7:30 accountability calls every morning, and the weekly one-on-ones. Most agents need that if they want to succeed, even if you're producing at a high level.
Yeah. Well, you see, there's a difference between micromanaging and accountability, right? It's by, and I hopefully you agree with this, there's by no means micromanaging. It's,
Mhm.
hey, if you want to sell 40, 50 homes, absolutely, we are the place that can help you do that. And your expectations for production are going to be a little bit different than someone who maybe wants to sell 10 or 15 homes, right? So it's all about what do you want to accomplish? And it's our job as coaches to get you there, right? We'll tell you, hey, okay, you want to sell 50 homes, you're going to have to make X amount of contacts a day in order to get close to that goal. And so, I think sometimes one of the things that I see in the industry, and obviously you've been around for 6 years, you've seen it too. A lot of times they don't have it figured out, right? Or they're, working with leaders that aren't personally still selling real estate. That's really hard, right? To be able to learn or lead, or be led by someone who isn't actually boots on the ground with you saying,
Mhm.
no, I just had this objection last night. Here's how I handled it.
Right, exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the support. That was one of the other things that you mentioned, that you love about the Glover Agency. So I know you've taken full advantage of the Agent Assist program. You actually already helped us improve it. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. What do you think are a couple things that come to mind as far as support that has helped you be, coming from a different team and being on our team now? What do you think or what comes to mind for you when you think of support and leverage specifically at Glover Agency?
So the support is huge. I can't say enough of how much I appreciate all the things that the people here at Glover Agency do behind the scenes, whether it's you, TC, Gabriella, the marketing department. I mean, I've been just blown away by the amount of support that we have. I mean, from transaction coordinators that can, take care of things for us, whether it's preparing listing docs, writing offers. I'm big on my sphere, like we talked about. So closing gifts. I had a closing last week and there was a framed photo of the picture that they bought, and then they get a set of coasters with pictures of the house a couple weeks after closing. I love that. I've always been big on just closing gifts and getting a picture with my clients at the closing and asking for reviews. You guys have that 5-star review program. Actually,
Yeah, I saw you got one of your reviews already in today, so nice job.
yeah, that was just today from that closing that happened last week. So that's kind of one of the ways I've grown my business, is just always trying to get Google and Zillow reviews and things like that. And so that's huge. The very important client Facebook group, I invited some of my past clients to that, and we just recently had fall family photos, and some of my past
Yeah,
clients were able to take advantage of that. So it's just adding value. It's not just about, what adds value to the agent. That's, the reasons I came to Glover Agency wasn't just, how does it benefit me? It's how does it benefit my client? How can I serve my clients at a higher level? And all these things, the closing gifts, the 5-star reviews, the very important client group, the monthly gift boxes. I know last month I sent out what was it? Pumpkin carving kits.
Harvey. Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, and I had some clients post it on Facebook and tag me and say, hey, every year I get something from my realtor Ryan, and they might have
yeah,
bought a house a couple of years ago, but in the past, my wife and I would team up on those. She's very crafty on Etsy and Pinterest and things like that. I would
yeah.
let her know what I want to do each month. She'd put them together and we'd go out and drive around. We'd load the kids up in the van and go drop them off, in person together. And now it's just, you guys take care of that. We give you a list of names each month that we want to send them to, and it's boom, it's done.
Yeah.
And just the things like that, past clients, I'm really big on nurturing those. But the marketing department's been amazing. Alana and Amber really helped me up my marketing game too. So
Yeah. Well, we know, as an agent, a lot of times why people don't join teams is because they feel like they might lose their brand, right? And they might lose their identity. And, I know when we were sitting down talking about this, I told you my job is to actually make your brand bigger than ours, right? And it's because at the end of the day, someone is more likely to work with you than they are to work with like just the big name, right? And so it's our job as leaders in the marketing department to make sure we're doing all we can, to help you build your brand. YouTube channels, Facebook pages, social media posts, things like that. And, I love what you said about your wife. If she's really good at those, by the way,
Mhm.
don't let me know that because she might get a job here soon. And then now we'll keep her employed. But no,
Right.
in all seriousness, that was something where, okay, if we were actually to add up the amount of time that took you and your wife, now granted you brought the kids with you, but that's time away from, hanging out with your family, doing things that the family wants to do. But now you got that time back to where we take care of it for you, and the impact is still the same, if not greater, because it's more consistent every single month.
Right. The leverage is huge,
Yeah.
huge too. And another thing, as far as the support and the culture goes, is Jeff always says, I lead from the front and boots on the ground with you. There's a lot of coaches and gurus out there who, they might have been in production years ago, but they talk the talk, they don't walk the walk. And Jeff's really in it. And I wish more agents within the industry knew, how down to earth and approachable Jeff is. I know he's kind of reached that local celebrity status where I had lunch with a agent that I used to work with the other day, and she's like, "So how is it? Do you ever see Jeff? Have you talked to him?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's at every monthly meeting. He's on the conference
Yeah.
or the accountability calls every morning. Like he's
Yeah.
very much involved. It's not like he's 5 levels detached from everything."
Honestly, I know I ask Jeff this all the time. He's his happiest when he's out getting a listing contract signed, right? And I think that's important for, agents like yourself to know that you're learning from someone who is literally, when he gets home later this week, he's going to be going on a listing appointment Friday night, right? And I think that that's important for your growth, right? To learn from someone who's doing it just like you. So
Mhm.
two other quick questions for you, Ryan. So a lot of times people will, if you were either solo or joining a team or moving from team to team, split versus net is something that you think about, right? And so
Right.
my question is for yourself, when you were, running numbers and so forth about thinking about, moving teams, obviously when you're on a team, people have this misconception that you're going to make less because you're on a team. That
Right.
obviously wasn't something that you thought about, or maybe it was something that you thought about, but the value outweighed it. So for you in that particular instance, what caused you to say, listen, I know that my net's going to be higher because I'm here?
Right. And that's so true. And I know Jeff and yourself both have talked about, net versus split. And one of the pages in the value prop book that I went over has a whole section on that, on, all the benefits and how much money it saves you. So, and I've been on teams before, and I know there's pros and cons with every team and every brokerage, but it's really like when you're solo, you have to do it all yourself. We
One
talk
man
about.
show.
Right. You have no training, you have no support. There isn't your culture is whatever, your personality is. But I like being a part of something bigger than myself. I do plan on getting my broker's license in the future, but I don't have any plans of, starting my own brokerage. If anything, maybe like a small team within a team,
Mhm.
that's still part of the
Just
Glover
like we offer.
agency.
Yep.
Right, something like that. But I like being a part of something bigger than myself and contributing. I've always had what they call a servant's heart. I was in the military, I was in the Boy Scouts as a kid. Like I love helping other people. And that's just where I come from. And so that's why I like to help other agents too, is where can I be of value? There's other, newer agents that I can help coach and train as well. So, but I weighed out all my pros and cons. I'm very analytical. I even got a piece of paper and a pen, the old Ben Franklin method. You write the pros on the left, the cons on the right.
Oh yeah.
Made a list of like the 5 or 10 different teams and brokerages that I was considering, interviewed with several, found out what their value props and their splits were. And to me, if agents just focus on the split only, they're doing themselves a disservice, because there's teams out there where there's a lot of them. I call the Glover agency value prop very robust. It's not just a one trick pony. There's a lot of teams out there that their big thing is they have one thing. Hey, we have leads. It's a flex team. We have all these Zillow leads. The quality or the quantity of those leads could be questionable, but maybe their splits aren't the greatest and their training's mediocre and their support is lackluster. You got to look at, it's multifaceted. You got to look at every aspect. Whereas you guys pretty much cover everything. There was a survey that was sent out recently, like, hey, what can we improve about our value prop? And I honestly couldn't even think of anything.
Well, I appreciate that. We always have room for improvement, and I agree with you. Sometimes agents get caught up in the split, but at the end of the day, it's what are you actually netting? And there's also things that are intangibles. You said it yourself. It's having more time with your family. Having listing paperwork drawn up for you at 7 o'clock at night, so that way you could be present at dinner and you don't have to pull out your laptop. Those are
Right.
some things that I think tend to be forgotten when we're considering different moves and so forth. So last question for you, Ryan. For someone who is considering, they either may not have even considered leaving their current organization, or maybe they're considering it and they don't know, is this the time? Or, should I do it? What is a bit of advice to someone that you would give who, maybe isn't currently happy with where they are?
So if you're currently not happy where you are, I mean, even if you are happy where you are, you always want to have your antennas up. You always want to keep your options open, know what else is out there. You don't know what you don't know, especially for newer agents just getting into the business, or if they got their license this year, last year, even 2020. I know there was a flood of new agents that came in the business during COVID, and even though they're a couple of years into it now, they're still fairly new.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been in it 6 years, and I still feel like I'm learning more every day. So it's
I've
just,
been in it 10 and I still learn something new every day and never
yeah,
stop.
it's just you want to get 1% better every day, but you always want to know what your options are. You never want to assume anything. Like I said with Jeff, like some agents might assume that he's like, got this, hot shot, personality where he's unapproachable, but he's really not. Just like with the splits, some people might think, well, yeah, it seems great, but I bet you their splits aren't that great. Well, you don't know unless you ask. You never know until you just do your research. It doesn't hurt to have a conversation with somebody, reach out to them, call them, text them, DM. I would recommend anybody considering Glover agency reach out to you and just have a conversation with you. And if it's a
Mhm.
fit, it's a fit, and it's, if it's not, it's not, so.
Right. And I think you remember when we were having these conversations, we are really big on, we don't hire just anyone. We want to make sure that it's a good fit for our organization, but also it's a good fit for you, because at the end of the day, my unreal life is when you're living yours,
Mhm.
whether it's in our organization or not. And, there's times where I'll say, hey, listen, I actually think ABC is better for you, and here's why. And I
Right.
think that that's important too, to think about when you're evaluating different organizations. Hey, who's working next to you? Are they, your wealth determiner? Who's helping you become better? And I know that you will do amazing in our organization, and we're so happy that you're here. You've already, I doesn't even feel like it's only been a couple weeks. It feels like you've already been here a couple years. You fit right in. So we're
Right.
excited to have you, Ryan. Thank you for spending some time with me today. We can't wait to watch your growth continue. And if you think that you have a story kind of like Ryan's, or you're interested in learning more about his story, who he is, what his business is like, and how you can become just like him, and in our world, and outside of it, give us a call. Reach out to gloveragency.com/careers. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Ryan would love to have a conversation with you, and we will talk to you soon.